What's up, guys? This is Chris from DraftDashboard.com. Here are my DFS picks for NBA Friday, August 7th. These picks apply for DraftKings and FanDuel. Before I get started, please drop a like on this video and hit that red subscribe button and hit that bell icon so you don't miss our new videos. In this video, I'm going to go over my top picks for today's NBA slate. And if you stick around to the very end of this video, we'll use the Draft Dashboard tools to make a DFS lineup using the picks we just made. Okay guys, let's take a look at this 5-game main slate. At the point guard position, I like Chris Paul from the Oklahoma City Thunder playing the Memphis Grizzlies, who have the 9th worst defense overall, and they give up the 8th most fantasy points versus opposing point guards. Chris Paul has averaged 36.6 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 32 minutes per game with a 24% usage rate. He's projected at 37.3 fantasy points here tonight. That's 4.8 times value. He's 7,800 FanDuel salary and 300 more on DraftKings. Vegas thinks there's going to be 222.5 points scored in this game, so I like Chris Paul here versus the Memphis Grizzlies. Now, if you're playing on DraftKings, take a look at De'Aaron Fox. He's 400 less than he is on FanDuel, whereas Chris Paul is 300 more on DraftKings than he is on FanDuel. So if I'm playing on FanDuel, I'm probably going with Chris Paul. If I'm playing on DraftKings, I'm probably going with De'Aaron Fox. But moving on here to a value play here at the point guard position, I like Jerome Robinson from the Washington Wizards playing the New Orleans Pelicans, who have the 5th worst defense overall, and they give up the 12th most fantasy points to opposing point guards. Jerome Robinson has averaged only 10.2 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 15 minutes per game with a 16% usage rate. But you got to take a look at his last 3 games. He's played 29, 28, and 27 minutes, and he's scored 32, 30, and 19 fantasy points. So his minutes are way up there. He's only projected at 14.8 fantasy points here tonight, but I'm going to up that because of the minutes that he's playing. You got to make some adjustments based on the last few games here. So I think he's projected at around 20 to 25 fantasy points here. And he's only 4,500 FanDuel salary and 400 more on DraftKings. So I like Jerome Robinson here versus the New Orleans Pelicans. Okay, let's take a look at the shooting guard position. I like Jrue Holiday from the New Orleans Pelicans playing the Washington Wizards, who have the 3rd worst defense overall, and they give up the 5th most fantasy points to opposing shooting guards. Jrue Holiday has averaged 39.4 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 35 minutes per game with a 25% usage rate. He's projected at 37.8 fantasy points here tonight. That's 4.9 times value. He's 7,700 FanDuel salary, and he's 1,600 more on DraftKings. So that's probably a FanDuel play for me, but I like Jrue Holiday here versus the Washington Wizards. Okay, looking for some value here at the shooting guard position. Now, Ben Simmons is out, so that's going to be a bump to these other Philadelphia 76ers players. So I like Josh Richardson from the Philadelphia 76ers playing the Orlando Magic, who have a good defense overall, and they're middle of the pack defending opposing shooting guards. Josh Richardson has averaged 25.2 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 31 minutes per game with a 21% usage rate. He's projected at 25.6 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.3 times value. He's 4,800 FanDuel salary and 200 more on DraftKings. So I like Josh Richardson here versus the Orlando Magic. Okay, who do we have at the small forward position? Another Sixers player I like is Tobias Harris from the Philadelphia 76ers playing the Orlando Magic. You know they have a good defense overall, and they're middle of the pack defending opposing small forwards. Tobias Harris has averaged 34.8 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 35 minutes per game with a 24% usage rate. He's projected at 34.3 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.1 times value. He's $6,800 FanDuel salary, and he's $1,500 more on DraftKings. So I like Tobias Harris here versus the Orlando Magic. Okay, looking for some value here at the small forward position. I like Harrison Barnes from the Sacramento Kings playing the Brooklyn Nets, who have the 11th worst defense overall, and they're middle of the pack defending opposing small forwards. Harrison Barnes has averaged 24.9 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 35 minutes per game with an 18% usage rate. He scored 35 fantasy points in 33 minutes last game. Now you got to be careful with this guy. He's either going to get you 15 or 30. So it's really tough to pick what day this guy's going to play well, but I think he can keep the momentum going here. He's projected at 23.9 fantasy points here tonight, and that's 5.6 times value. He's $4,300 FanDuel salary and $400 more on DraftKings. So I like Harrison Barnes here versus the Brooklyn Nets. Real quick, guys, I got great news. For a limited time, we're offering a full 30-day trial to Draft Dashboard. You can try all of our DFS tools for all sports. You can try the Position Optimizer, where you can see the top players ranked for each position. And we added a new Player Trends tool, where you can see the top salary differences between FanDuel and DraftKings. It's a really good tool to help you pick out value for the site that you're playing on. Oh, and if you're tired of doing research every day, we just added a cheat sheet that shows hand-picked plays for the slate. No confusing stat lines, no headaches, just a simple cheat sheet that shows the absolute best players for your lineups. Okay, let's take a look at the power forward position. I like Jason Tatum from the Boston Celtics playing the Toronto Raptors, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall, and they give up the 11th most fantasy points to opposing power forwards. Jason Tatum has averaged 40.8 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 34 minutes per game with a 29% usage rate. Now, they didn't need him for many minutes last game, but I do expect him to get back to his normal minutes this game. He's projected at 39.4 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.3 times value. He's $7,500 FanDuel salary and $400 more on DraftKings. Vegas thinks there's going to be 218.5 points scored in this game, so I like Jason Tatum here versus the Toronto Raptors. Okay, looking for some value here at the power forward position. Another 76er. I wouldn't play all three of these Sixers in your lineup. You could, but I'd go with two out of these three. But I like Al Horford from the Philadelphia 76ers playing the Orlando Magic, who have a good defense overall, and they give up the 12th most fantasy points to opposing power forwards. Al Horford has averaged 30.2 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 31 minutes per game with a 17% usage rate. He's projected at 29.7 fantasy points here tonight. That's 6.2 times value. He's $4,800 FanDuel salary and $1,800 more on DraftKings. So you can see that DraftKings has really jacked up the price of these other Sixers. But I like Al Horford here versus the Orlando Magic. Okay, moving on to the center position. I like Jonas Valanciunas from the Memphis Grizzlies playing the Oklahoma City Thunder, who have a good defense overall, and they're middle of the pack defending opposing centers. Jonas Valanciunas has averaged 33.8 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 26 minutes per game with a 22% usage rate. Now, he played 33 and 29 minutes in the last two games, so that's encouraging, and he scored 39 and 40 fantasy points. So he's projected at 35 fantasy points here tonight. That's 4.7 times value. He's $7,500 FanDuel salary and $200 less on DraftKings. So I like Jonas Valanciunas here versus the Oklahoma City Thunder. And then I like Steven Adams from the Oklahoma City Thunder playing the Memphis Grizzlies, who have the 9th worst defense overall and they're middle of the pack defending opposing centers. Steven Adams has averaged 30.1 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 27 minutes per game with an 18% usage rate. He's projected at 30.7 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.2 times value. He's $5,900 FanDuel salary and $200 more on DraftKings. We know Vegas thinks there's going to be 222.5 points scored in this game, so I like Steven Adams here versus the Memphis Grizzlies. If you want to try all these daily fantasy tools for yourself, click the link in the description below this video or just go to draftdashboard.com. You can use our DFS lineup optimizer to build quality lineups using our picks and your own custom player pool. Click the link in the description below this video and try all these daily fantasy tools right now. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so you can get instant updates whenever we post a new video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please smickety smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Oh, and please comment below with your favorite player for this NBA slate. I love to hear what you guys have to think. Thanks again and good luck.